everybody, welcome to Bayhill Studio. This pour was nothing like what I expected, so I'll tell you a little about it. Almost all of these are golden fluid paints. The yellow is not and the pink is not. I think they're, I can't remember the brand. I will say that, here I painted the edges in like a deeper yellow than the yellow that I'm pouring, just for no reason, honestly. The yellow I knew would be a little bit translucent, and maybe I didn't want white to show through on the edges. So I did paint the edges, and the paint I grabbed was just a shade darker. Here I'm pouring it. This is just a mixture of yellow paint with Floetrol, GAC 800, and a little bit of Liquitex pouring medium. And then the others are the same except for the white. The white is a pearl base, and instead of pouring the white pearl base over the whole thing first, I did the yellow first and then the white on top just to see what would happen. And here you can see I'm layering it in there. So here I'm just torching it, trying to get rid of any air bubbles, adding a little bit more. And I probably could have added more. I struggled to get this to cover the canvas as it was. And I really did like the layers of white that I put in there. It kept it really bright and airy. However, as you'll see, at least in my opinion, the end result was gorgeous, but on its own, it wasn't super interesting. So here I am stretching it out, and I wasn't sure if I was going to get any pearls with this. The white is a pearl paint, but that doesn't mean that cells are going to, the pearl cells are going to want to come up because it wasn't the base coat. I just wasn't sure what was going to happen. But of course, the more you stretch, the more chances you have of getting those pearl cells coming up. So here you can see I'm really struggling at this point to get it to cover the canvas. I've stretched it out on 3 sides and I'm trying to get this corner, and it just doesn't want to stretch. So I'm coaxing it along, and this is sped up, and so it doesn't even give the idea of how long this took to stretch it this far over this corner. It took a while, a lot of patience. And here I am bringing it back, and you can see it's lovely. But in my opinion, not overly interesting. And there are little cells coming up, you see, and what's cool is that it's yellow coming through. I really like that, how that looks. And then here coming up, I'm just fixing the edges. And then this is the point where I just start fixating on that little magenta spot and thinking maybe I can do something with that. One thing leads to another, and it kind of grows into this magenta flower. And I used, when you see me dripping paint to add to it, it's golden high flow paint. It's Golden Fluids High Flow. I think that's what it's called. It's basically like ink that you're just dripping on there. And that's what I started adding, and just kind of, there you see, I dripped some on, and that made a big difference. And I really liked that. I really liked what was happening there, and I wasn't sure what to do about it. And so ultimately I just kept adding more and more, and it grew into a flower. And then I'll tell you, I set it aside, I let it dry, and ultimately I said, no, I want this to be a tree. And to me, I was in my head calling it a she tree, like a female she tree. And so I brought it back after it had dried and just started working with it more. I added a trunk, I added more of the magenta, and then I still wasn't happy with it. But I'm going to step back right now and just let you see the process. This was, like I said, a months long process. I started this in the summer and finished this in November. So sometimes it's good to step aside, let it dry, and then maybe change it up a little bit. There's no harm in coming back later and adding adding to or changing the painting a little bit to get what you want. So I'm gonna stop talking now, and you can just watch this process. apologize for the video quality here. We had several days of almost no sunlight whatsoever, and so this is what I ended up with. I did, as you can see, I did paint on a little bit of a tree trunk, and I still wasn't happy with it. It wasn't grand enough, and just, I don't know, it just didn't look quite right. It looked a bit half-hearted. And then I came across this Deco Foil product, and I thought, this is what I need. I absolutely love it. So it's manufactured by ThermoWeb under the iCraft name. And what you do is you have this tube of liquid adhesive called just Deco Foil liquid adhesive. And I just squirted it on in the tree trunk design, in that pattern that you see that's coming up. I let that dry for a few hours or even overnight. And then I'm just kind of using my thumbnail, and with the right side up of the foil, and this is a bronze foil that I'm using, with the right side up, I'm just kind of scraping it with my fingernail onto this dried adhesive, and it's sticking. So it's kind of like gold leafing, if you've ever done gold leafing. And what I love about this is that it leaves a raised design. It's not flat. And I have to add, I did varnish this piece before doing this, and then I did another piece where I didn't varnish it and I added it, and I actually like it on the varnished piece better. It seems to just go on real smooth, and it doesn't impact the painting, the canvas behind it, like the other one did. So it just stays clean and smooth and nice, but it leaves a raised motif, like a raised, you can feel it with your fingers. And I absolutely love it. So after I did this, I actually went ahead and varnished, did another layer of varnish again, which I'll show you. And I'm in love with it. It dried with just that little bit of a raised texture to it. And look at that. That is the trunk I was looking for. And it's not easy right here to see all of that gorgeous bronze, but here you go. Here's a close-up. Oh, I just love it. I love everything about this. That's the tree I was thinking I wanted. And you could paint it on, but you wouldn't get that raised look to it, which the three-dimensional look, which I absolutely love. So here I am. You can varnish this with a spray varnish, or you can paint it on. I just decided to pour it on the same way that I pour my paint. So here you go. Just pouring it over all the edges, just a really thin coat, because again, it has already been varnished. It had probably 2 or 3 layers of varnish on it before this. So really thin coat, just to protect that Deco foil and just kind of bring it all together. It doesn't take away from the three-dimensional look to it at all. And here we just let it dry. And that's it. I hope you'll take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. And most of all, I wish you a very blessed day. Bye-bye.